You're walking a tightrope. On one side is your work, and it's demanding. It's always there. And on the other side is your personal life and the freedom to do what you want, when you want, but it's sidelined. Now, that sounds like a circus act that you've been a part of, I've been a part of, we've all been a part of. You're not alone. But today, we're going to help you find the balance between career ambitions and the joys of personal life. If you ever feel like you're choosing between work and personal life and that you can't have it all, then stick around. First, I'm going to give you simple rules to make you have it all. And then at the end of this video, we're going to bring it all home with something you can do in just 5 minutes to get you unstuck. Now, I know this because 12 years ago, I made a really big choice. I walked away from a law firm that I founded, where I was earning over $1 million a year. And I did it because I was being a bad dad. I couldn't let go of work, and I was bringing home my work obsession and letting it affect my time with my daughter. And it just wasn't worth it. But since then, I've learned how to manage my time and not just be efficient, but be effective, both for my personal and for my work life, and launch other businesses that have done even better. And I did this because I got these rules right. First up, let's talk about time management. So here's the first hack. 99% of what you've heard about time management is bullshit, and doing it won't give you a better work-life balance. You can't actually manage time. You can only manage how you invest that time. So time management isn't about finding some secret productivity hack. After 30 years of work and starting 5 businesses, there is one thing that I know. The secret to work-life balance isn't cramming in more work. It's 2 things. 1, choosing what actually matters, and 2, having a system to make sure that unimportant things don't bump the important things. I do this by what I call painting the calendar. Your calendar is the secret to everything. First, let's understand what this means, and then I'm going to show you how to do it, because I've now used this system to build 3 businesses without neglecting my kids, my parents, my friends, or time for me. Imagine that your calendar has just 2 kinds of things on it: green slots, which are for personal, and red slots for work. Now, I do this, and before I even start the week, I have a calendar painted, knowing exactly how much time I have for work and being sure I have time for me and the people I want to spend time with. So when you're painting your week, there are 4 core rules for the calendar. I'm going to go through them, and if you follow these rules, you're going to find out work-life balance ain't so hard. Rule number 1, the calendar is the source of truth. If you don't have some way to see if you're being true to your goals, you will never get there. And since the calendar is something we all use for work, instead of layering on checklists and systems, we are just going to use the calendar. So rule number 1 is the calendar is the source of truth. Rule number 2, every week I decide how much time I should spend on the things that matter, like family, time for me, and in the calendar, I color it green. So unless you want to get in a bad place like I did and neglect your most important relationships, this is a non-negotiable. If you do what most people do, and you start with work, and you fit in your personal things around it, you'll wake up years later and realize that you missed life because you let work crowd out the time for you and your relationships. Rule number 3, now we've got the work hours in red, and everything for work has to fit into that time. And if I can't fit something in, I need to decide what goes and what stays. This rule is simple. If I can't fit all the work into the red slots, it moves into a future week. A lot of the time, you'll find that some of the things that you think are really important, they just aren't. So by creating a constraint, by being forced to make choices, we get smarter about what to do. Rule number 4, personal time can move, but it can never be destroyed, only rescheduled to another time in the same week. So when you start doing this, you're going to try to cheat. You're going to say, oh, I got this work thing and I got to move it. So I'm going to move this personal time. It's just me. I'm not impacting anything. I'll catch up later. Trust me. I know. I've played this game with myself and it does not work. You'll have a work meeting. You'll let it move. You'll let it cut into personal time. You'll promise yourself you'll make it up and you never will. So the rule is that personal time can move and be rescheduled, but only within the same week. So you're staying honest. So here's where things get interesting. You have these 4 rules and I'm going to give you the process to make sure you stick to them. Here's what you're going to do. Every week, you're going to plan your week in advance. Now, I usually do this on Sundays. I do my planning in a Notion template that I got, but you can do it on anything. You can do a note on your phone. You can do it on paper. It doesn't matter. And I pull out my calendar and my priority list for work. What am I working on this quarter? and I paint the calendar, making sure that I have my personal time painted in and then the work time. And then I take my priority list for work and I designate specific slots for each thing that needs to get done. In other words, I don't use the task list. I only use the calendar. So for example, when I was creating this video, I had a specific time set aside for it before the week began. Now, as I work during the week, I adjust the time on the calendar appointments to the time that it actually took me to get things done. That way, I'm actively engaged in understanding how long things really took me. If something comes in during the week as a new project, it doesn't get done that week. It gets added to the priority list for next week. Really important. I'm going to say that again. If something new comes in, it does not get done right away. It gets added to the priority list for next week. And why is this? It's because urgent things aren't always important. This way, I'm not letting urgent things derail things that might be less urgent, but more important. This is essential because I'm keeping the work time, focused on the important things and letting me go for the personal time. If every time something comes up that claims to be a crisis, it's going to start eating into my personal time. Work-life balance suffers. And here's the other thing that's really interesting. By the time next week rolls around, I'm going to realize much of the time that that thing that seems so urgent just isn't that important. It just didn't need to be done. So remember, I'm never letting my personal time get canceled. If that's the move, that's okay, but it never gets canceled, and it moves only within the same week. So now I've got to the end of the week, I've adjusted my times as I go throughout the week, and I take a look at what I actually accomplished, and I write that down. And I write down, how long did each thing take me? It's like, oh, well, the scripting for a video. It's like, well, I thought it would take me 30 minutes, but actually I wanted to record some examples and show you what the screen looks like. So I spent an extra half an hour doing that. So I adjust that. And next time I'm doing a video, I'm like, can't just have 30 minutes for that. It's going to take me an hour. It's going to take me an hour and a half. And by doing that, I'm getting smarter and I can predict what's important and I can predict where it goes in the calendar and how much time to put for it. And I also learn how to keep myself in the zone productivity because I can look at those things and say, well, I did that, but it turns out that wasn't really important. So now I can make a better decision going forward. Now, before I give you the 5-minute strategy for implementing this, I want to share some mindsets that changed me from overwhelmed, calm, and clear. And the first mindset change is really important. There is no balance, and you can't get it all done, and that's okay. There will always be too many demands, both personally and professionally. Right now, I'm dealing with my dad having health issues, keeping my marriage on track, spending time with my kids, launching a new company. I'm writing a book, and a dozen other things that I don't even have time to mention here. You will never get everything done, and that's okay. The most important thing to do is the important things. The key to not waking up feeling like you've wasted your life is to prioritize what's important and intentionally decide not to do the unimportant stuff. Second mindset, get used to disappointing people at work. And it's not because you didn't try or you did a bad work. It's because you won't do things that aren't truly important. Everybody in this world who is not you, they want to make their problems into your problems because that's the easy thing for them to do. If you set boundaries and only focus on the essential, you are making yourself more valuable. The way to think about it is this: saying yes to everything just to please people means that you won't get it all done. You're actually saying no to things that might be more important. You are only have so many hours in the day. You're gonna have to say no to things or do things late. It would be better to say no to things up front and yes to the important things than saying yes to everything and the important things get shoved to the back or your personal life suffers. Get used to saying no, even if it disappoints someone. And last, realize that it's okay not to be on all the time. On the weekends, I used to feel guilty if I'm not being productive. But if you paint the calendar, you don't have to be, because you already made the decision about how to spend your time. You can make a different decision next week, but you can't change it now. That's the rules. That delay gives you permission to let go of anxiety, to think that you're not doing enough. You made this decision. You made this decision knowing that you're going to have to bump some things, and you can change next week's decision, but you can't change the decision you've already made. That's a huge mindset change. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences on this journey towards balance. So please share your stories in the comments. And if you found value in this video, subscribe. I share strategies like this every week.